This video is premiering just in time for Mother's Day, so I thought, why not take a look at the mother of all female superheroes, that wonder of a woman, Wonder Woman, and a key part of her Silver Age run by writer-editor Robert Kanigher and artists Ross Andru and Mike Esposito. I know you've heard of the Superman family and the Batman family, but have you met the Wonder Woman family? Well, here's the story of a lovely lady who was bringing up three very lovely girls. Kinda. Sorta. Let's travel back to the 1960s and explore the impossible tale of the Wonder Woman family. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Wonder Tots save you. Welcome back to Tales from My Spinner Rack. I'm Gary Sassman, the former Director of Programming and Publications for Comic-Con International San Diego. This is episode 18 of my ongoing series of videos featuring the comic books I loved growing up in the 1960s and 70s. And before we begin, if you could take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications for new episodes and leave a like and or comment after you watch this video, it would be greatly appreciated. Wonder Woman burst onto the national, better known as DC Comics, scene in October 1941 with the story in All-Star Comics number 8. The book was cover dated for January 1942, right around the time Sensation Comics debuted, featuring Wonder Woman as the cover feature for almost the entire run of the title, ending in June 1952. She graduated into her own book almost immediately, with Wonder Woman number 1 premiering on newsstands just 6 months later in the summer of 1942. The character, originally called Suprema, the Wonder Woman, was created by Charles Moulton, a name formed from the middle names of William Moulton Marston and Maxwell Charles Gaines. The latter, better known as MC Gaines or Max, is often credited as the creator of the American comic book format. In 1933, Gaines, at the time a printing salesman, created an 8-page freebie comic called Funnies on Parade, featuring syndicated comic strip reprints. He later refined that into Famous Funnies, which became the first commercial comic book series, debuting as a 36-page one-shot from Dell in 1933 and becoming a series in 1934, lasting 218 issues before ceasing publication in 1955, finishing up with a memorable series of Buck Rogers covers by Frank Frazetta, some of that artist's finest comic book work. Gaines went on to co-publish comic books with DC's Jack Leibowitz under the company named All American Comics. The company started in 1938, and when superheroes became all the rage after Superman debuted in Action Comics, All American jumped on the bandwagon with Flash Comics, January 1940, starring The Flash and Hawkman. More costume characters soon followed for the company, including Green Lantern and the Atom. The All-American heroes joined forces with DC characters such as Sandman, Dr. Fate, and the Spectre to form the Justice Society of America in the pages of All-Star Comics, starting with issue 3 in winter 1940. And that brings us back to All-Star Comics 8 and the introduction of Wonder Woman. Created and written by William Moulton Marston as Charles Moulton, drawn by Harry G. Peter, edited by comics legend Sheldon Mayer, and overseen by MC Gaines, comics' first female superhero was created as a counterpart to male costumed heroes like Superman and Batman. She proved to be successful enough to be part of 4 titles: Sensation, Wonder Woman, and Comic Cavalcade, a 15-cent anthology from All American, which featured their big 3 superheroes, Flash, Green Lantern, and Wonder Woman. Over in All-Star Comics, the Justice Society granted her honorary member status in the group, starting off as the team's secretary. Sorry, but superhero work is not for the ladies, ma'am. She eventually took a more active role and started to appear regularly on the covers with issue 11. William Moulton Marston was a famous psychologist who is credited for inventing the lie detector test. Gaines hired him as a consultant for All American Comics in 1940. Comics were already getting a bad rap at the time, and Gaines formed an advisory board of educators, psychologists, and famous people, like former boxing champion Gene Tunney. Ironically, Marston's version of Wonder Woman contained a lot of hidden and not so hidden themes that were highly personal to him and of a more adult nature. In the Golden Age, Wonder Woman was anchored by the old-fashioned looking cartooning of Harry G. Peter, who continued drawing the stories well after Marston died in 1947. Both the Wonder Woman in Chains art and the Sensation Comics 12 cover here are by Peter. Marston's death was followed by M.C. Gaines just a few months later, when he was killed in a boating accident. Gaines had sold off his interest in All-American Comics to DC in 1945, and then created EC Comics, known first as Educational Comics, then Entertaining Comics, which his son, William, took to a whole new level in the 1950s with his line of incredibly well-illustrated horror, science fiction, war, and humor titles, including Harvey Kurtzman's Mad, Gaines's greatest publishing success. Harry G. Peter was already in his 60s when he started drawing Wonder Woman, and kept doing so until his death in 1958 at the age of 78. His last story appeared in Wonder Woman 97, with a cover by Irwin Hasten and Bernard Sachs, cover dated for April. After almost 30 years, Peter's art was looking a bit tired, and Wonder Woman was due for a refresh. Marston's credit, Wonder Woman by Charles Moulton, would continue on the book until at least issue 160, not bad for a pseudonym based on two dead guys. And that brings us to Wonder Woman 98, which was regarded as the start of the Silver Age run for the character. Ross Andru and Mike Esposito took over as interior artists under writer-editor Robert Kanigher. Kanigher had been editor and writer since 1948, soon after Marston died, co-writing the series with Joy Hummel, who was hired as a typist for Marston when she was only 20 years old. She wrote uncredited stories from 1944 through 1948 and was honored by Comic-Con International with the Bill Finger Award for Excellence in Comic Book Writing in 2018, an acknowledgement of her work over 70 years in the making. I feel Robert Kanigher doesn't get a lot of credit these days. It could be because the majority of his work was outside DC's superhero mainstream. He is also one of the most infamous editors in DC's history, vying with Mort Weisinger for the World Championship belt as biggest SOB. He was a polarizing figure in the DC offices, but he was also a prolific creator who left behind a memorable body of work in numerous comic book genres. He's best known for his work on DC's war comics. He co-created Sergeant Rock in Our Army at War, Mademoiselle Marie in Star-Spangled War Stories, Gunner and Sarge, and Pooch, don't forget Pooch, in Our Fighting Forces, The Haunted Tank in GI Combat, Enemy Ace and The Unknown Soldier, again in Star-Spangled, The Losers in Our Fighting Forces, and, my fave, that unforgettable Soldiers vs. Dinosaurs series, The War the Time Forgot, which ran as the cover feature on Star-Spangled War Stories for almost 50 issues. Kanigher edited all DC's Big Five war books, including the four I already mentioned, plus All-American Men of War, devoted to air combat, which featured the high-flying Navajo ace Johnny Cloud, who later joined the Losers. He co-wrote and edited the early issues of The Brave and the Bold before it became another DC tryout book, when it featured heroes such as the Viking Prince, the Silent Knight, and the Golden Gladiator. He also co-created the original Task Force X Suicide Squad, which had two 3-issue tryouts, and a similar band of undersea adventurers, the Sea Devils, which debuted in its own book in 1961 and ended with number 35 in 1967. The first 10 issues, some of which were written by Bob Haney, featured incredibly beautiful covers and interior art by Russ Heath, with the covers being produced in the wash style by DC production guru Jack Adler, which gave them a painted look. Superhero-wise, Kanigher is responsible for a trio of famous DC female characters. He co-created Black Canary back in the Golden Age in Flash Comics issue 92, February 1948. He wrote occasional stories for fellow editor Julius Schwartz. The two shared an office for many years. Co-created famed villainous Poison Ivy in Batman 181, June 1966 at the height of TV's Batmania, and he revised and co-created the characters of Rose and the Thorn, starting as a backup feature in Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane 105, October 1970. Kanigher also had a hand in the 1956 revival of The Flash, scripting the first Barry Allen story in Showcase issue 4, which, for many people, launched the Silver Age of comics. In 1962, he co-created Metal Men with Andru and Esposito, and it was a surprise mid-60s hit for DC. His final superhero co-creation in the mid-70s was Ragman with artist Joe Kubert, a short-lived series that debuted in September 1976. And then, of course, there was Wonder Woman. Kanigher's 80-issue Silver Age run from 98 until 177 as both writer and editor, alongside artists Ross Andru and Mike Esposito for all but 7 issues, is what we're talking about this time, especially the wondrous creation known as the Wonder Woman family, which teamed up Wonder Woman with teenage and toddler versions of herself, known as Wonder Girl and Wonder Tot, alongside mom Queen Hippolyta, also known as Wonder Queen, in a series of stories called The Impossible Tales. All in all, Kanigher was in charge of the amazing Amazon for 2 decades, from 1948 until 1968. My older brother and I bought Wonder Woman throughout the 1960s. The first issue I remember having was this one, number 111, cover dated January 1960, with the strange tale of the robot Wonder Woman, and featuring this incredible display of bullets versus tiara, bracelets, and shoes choreography. It was never a top-of-the-stack, immediate must-read book for either of us, but we bought it faithfully for decades. We bought this title throughout the Wonder Family years, into the Return to the Golden Age era, and through the Diana Prince, Mrs. Peel era, when editor Jack Miller took over. British TV's The Avengers, first appearing on ABC in the United States in 1965, had as its female lead character Emma Peel, played by Diana Rigg, who 10-year-old me thought was the coolest woman alive. I hadn't learned the word sexy yet. Her outfits had a far-reaching influence on fashion in the go-go 60s, including in comics, and not only for Wonder Woman. Over at Marvel, Black Widow's late 60s signature look was certainly inspired by Mrs. Peel. But I digress. The early Silver Age Wonder Woman stories had a definite 1950s streamlined look, thanks to Ross Andru and Mike Esposito's art. Kanigher kept some of Marston's Wonder Woman-isms, such as Merciful Minerva, Thank Hera, Shades of Pluto, Thunderbolts of Jove, Neptune's Trident, and one that Marston snuck in for his own reasons, Sufferin' Sappho. Kanigher even gave those Greek mythology-tinged sayings their own explanatory cover story, the startling origins of the Amazon's puzzling exclamations, in issue 131, The Proving of Wonder Woman. I'm not sure what was in the water the mostly male editors were drinking in the late 1950s and early 1960s in the DC offices. But while none of them, to my knowledge, were actually pregnant, they were most certainly thinking about babies, or at the very least younger versions of their main superheroes, Superman and Batman. Super Baby, for all intents and purposes, was just a superpowered baby-talking brat who got into situations solely for comedic effect, always wearing his indestructible blue and red onesie. He appeared often in both Superman and Superboy stories throughout the 60s and even into the early 70s. I've already talked about the mercifully sole appearance of Bat Baby. See Tales from My Spinner Rack episode 2 here on YouTube for that whole sordid story, who was a miniature version of Batman. He wasn't a real baby, though, just a toddler-sized Cape Crusader with all his adult strength and intellect intact. Starting in the 1950s, editor Mort Weisinger formed a Superman family of almost biblical proportions, including Superboy, around since the mid-40s, Supergirl, and various other Kryptonians, both human and animal, all from a planet that exploded into a gazillion pieces and had, supposedly, only one sole survivor. Somewhere in there, the idea must have come up that if there was a Superboy, there had to be a Super Baby, right? Batman, edited by Jack Schiff at the time, also had a burgeoning bat family, minus a Bat Boy or Bat Baby, but full up with Batwoman, Batgirl, Ace the Bat Hound, Batmite, and even, for one issue only, Mogo the Bat Ape, whose sole appearance checked off a couple of editorial director Irwin Donenfeld's must-have cover items that he felt definitely sold books: a purple background and an ape. Good work, Mogo. So is it any wonder, pun intended, that Robert Kanigher would come up with a Wonder Woman family? Kanigher went one better than his fellow DC editors. He created younger versions of Wonder Woman in Wonder Girl and Wonder Tot, but allowed all three characters, plus Mom, Queen Hippolyta, to appear together in the same stories, not via flashback or as an imaginary tale. He called these stories impossible tales because, let's face it, the possibility of one person existing in three different ages and appearing together is pretty much, well, impossible. But hey, it's a comic book. Go with it. It took a little while, though, for Kanigher to get around to having all three ages of Wonder Woman team up in a story. Wonder Girl was introduced in Wonder Woman 105, April 1959, in a story titled The Secret Origin of Wonder Woman. And what did that secret origin reveal? Well, pretty much a lazy ripoff of Captain Marvel's origin. While in the cradle, Wonder Woman is visited by four figures from Greek mythology, leaving her as beautiful as Aphrodite, as wise as Athena, swifter than Mercury, and stronger than Hercules. The story featured a teenage version of Wonder Woman dubbed Wonder Girl, who would go on to star in other breathless tales of adventure. Wonder Girl quickly became a regular feature in the Wonder Woman title, immediately appearing in a story in issue 106. She made her first cover appearance in issue 107, featuring a solo tale called Wonder Woman, Amazon Teenager. This story chronicles how she got her costume and introduces romantic interest Merboy, who hangs out in the waters off Paradise Island. Wonder Girl also had a winged boyfriend named Bird Boy, first introduced in issue 144. She was a popular girl. Hey, Merboy asked her to the underwater prom, undoubtedly called Enchantment Under the Sea. And it was pretty apparent that writer-editor Kanigher was looking for an audience that included teenage girls. Wonder Girl continued in solo stories, headlined Wonder Woman Presents Wonder Girl in many issues, and did a kind of mini tryout for 3 consecutive issues, issues 151 through 153, where she took over the covers, including the title slot on 2 of them. She was also prominently featured on earlier covers, racking up a dozen cover appearances between 107 and 153. Wonder Girl eventually came into her own with the Teen Titans, and a whole separate persona from Wonder Woman, known at one point as Donna Troy, and for a little while, Troya. Please don't ask me to explain how they fit into Wonder Woman continuity. I have more than enough problems figuring out how Wonder Girl and Wonder Tot exist simultaneously alongside Wonder Woman. It makes brain hurt. The Wonder Woman family was officially introduced in issue 121 in the story The Island Eater. At this point, Wonder Tot hadn't been introduced as a member of the family, but that would soon be rectified. I mean, with the birth of the Wonder Woman family, Kanigher had to add a little kid to it to complete the quartet and provide some cute comic relief, right? While she made an appearance in Wonder Girl's Birthday Party, a story in Wonder Woman 113, Wonder Tot was officially introduced in issue 122 in the story The Skyscraper Wonder Woman, which began with Kanigher stating, "Readers, we have a confession to make. We have shown you Queen Hippolyta, Wonder Woman, and Wonder Girl in amazing adventures, but there is still another member of the Wonder Woman family of Amazon heroines whom you haven't met. And here she is for the first time, the astonishing Wonder Tot, who battles the sinister seer of Saturn's most diabolical invention, the Skyscraper Wonder Woman." Calm down, boys. Sometimes a skyscraper is just a skyscraper. The story features an age clock that allows Wonder Woman to grow younger and older again. Wonder Woman, Wonder Girl, and Wonder Tot never appear together. The threesome appear again separately in issue 123 in a story called Amazon Magic Eye Album. But in issue 124, in a story titled The Impossible Day, that oversight is corrected as the whole Wonder Woman family teams up for the very first time. As Wonder Woman laments, due to the thousands of letters that kept pouring in, asking to see us all together, Wonder Tot, Wonder Girl, me, and you, Wonder Queen uses some kind of Amazonian experimental photo lab wizardry to make the three separate ages of Wonder Woman appear together, undoubtedly in just 1 hour or less, so your photos are free. And the Wonder Woman family is now complete. Wonder Tot's first solo story was just 2 issues later in 126, cover dated November 1961, the same month that Fantastic Four #1 appeared, just in case you're keeping score at home. Wonder Woman 126 is a comic currently on my spinner rack, so let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into it. Wonder Woman introduces the Amazon Babe on the cover, but after her first appearance just a couple of months earlier, it was a little too soon for Kanigher, via Wonder Queen, to proclaim that so many readers have written in to know what Wonder Tot, Wonder Woman as a child, does on Paradise Island. But they went on to explain it anyway. Wonder Tot and Mr. Genie is a charming fairy tale-like story in which Wonder Tot returns from playing outside. She explains to Wonder Queen how she found the genie inside a box, which she wanted for her toys, and freed him. His name is Genro, but she calls him Mr. Genie, and he has been trapped in the box for centuries. The genie tries to stay out of the box, but Wonder Tot tricks him back into it, only releasing him when he promises her a wish. She wants a star to use as a hair clip for her ponytail, so Mr. Genie takes her to space through both a meteor shower and a time belt, where Wonder Tot ages to become Wonder Girl and Wonder Woman, and then back again to Wonder Tot. Trapped in the meteor shower, she eventually gets her star by shattering the meteors, and returning to Paradise Island, she says goodbye to Mr. Genie. The next day, the Tot of Wonder returns home once again to a concerned Wonder Mom, who asks where she's been. Out, she replies, and when asked what she did, she simply says, nothing. I know those 2 one-word answers were my frequent responses as a kid to my mom's questions. I mean, how do you explain kid stuff to a nosy adult? None of your beeswax was not an officially sanctioned response in my house. Wonder Tot would be solo featured on only 2 other covers, issues 130 and 132. Far fewer appearances than her teenage counterpart. I guess not that many toddlers were clamoring for their own special hero. The Wonder Woman family, including Wonder Tot, appeared on Wonder Woman covers often from 124 on, including issues 129, 133, 135, 138, 140, 142, 145, and 155. That last cover with the Wonder family was one of my favorites. Wonder Woman 155, July 1965, features the story I Married a Monster, with a befuddled Wonder Girl, Wonder Tot, and Wonder Queen present at the wedding of Wonder Woman. I talked a little bit about this particular issue in episode 15, my favorite spinner rack covers, just a few months ago, so you might want to check that out if you haven't already. I mentioned earlier Kanigher's War of the Time Forgot series and Star-Spangled War stories. Well, either he really liked dinosaurs or knew they sold books, or both, because Wonder Woman was regularly battling giant dinosaur-like beasties in her title. In one 6-issue span, there were 3 dinosaur covers, issues 143, 146, and 148, pitting the amazing Amazon against the prehistoric creatures, including in a department store. Honey, let's skip Macy's this time. And then suddenly the Wonder Woman family was gone. In issue 158, and yes, I'm going to almost totally ignore Egg Foo on this cover, the less said about that unfortunate choice of villain, the better. Kanigher himself made an appearance and retired almost his whole cast of characters. Wonder Girl, Wonder Tot, Wonder Queen, Merboy, Bird Boy, and their grown-up counterparts were all given the sack. Kanigher had recently discovered that old comic books had become collectible, and so he decided to recreate Wonder Woman from the golden age of comics. He first tried this in a story in issue 156, but in 158 he fully committed to it, by doing something not even Stan Lee ever did, announcing his new plan to the world from a balcony. Starting with the December Wonder Woman number 159, we're going to make comics history. We're going to recreate the golden age, thrilling step by step, The Golden Age will live again. The Golden Age format, which included art that looked like Harry G. Peter, but still drawn by Andru and Esposito, lasted for 6 whole issues, 159 through 164, before Wonder Woman stories had a contemporary look again with issue 165. Kanigher went through the remainder of the Go-Go Checks era with stories sometimes called The New Wonder Woman on the covers. Andru and Esposito left with issue 171 to be replaced by Irv Novick. Kanigher's last issue as writer and editor of Wonder Woman was 177, which contained this prophetic ad for the next issue. Yes, the really big change is coming to Wonder Woman. Editor Jack Miller took over with issue 178, assigning writer Denny O'Neil and artists Mike Sikowski and Dick Giordano. Wonder Woman underwent a radical makeover, becoming the super-powerless, karate-chopping Diana Prince, adopting a sage Chinese partner named Ai Ching, and looking more and more like a fashion-conscious takeoff of the aforementioned British TV's Emma Peel from the Avengers. No, not those Avengers. The Diana Prince era lasted until the summer of 1972, when Gloria Steinem's launch of Ms. Magazine, with Wonder Woman prominently featured on the cover, convinced DC Comics that the original Wonder Woman was the only one that really mattered. Robert Kanigher, surprise, returned as editor with issue 204, February 1973, headlined as The New Adventures of the Original Wonder Woman. He lasted just 9 issues before Julius Schwartz took over with issue 212. It would take numerous reboots to get Wonder Woman right, including a short-lived stint by writer-editor Roy Thomas and artist Gene Colan, starting with issue 289, February 1982. In the mid-1980s, DC basically rebooted almost everything following Crisis on Infinite Earths, and as a follow-up to that groundbreaking series, George Perez took over the title in 1987, and Wonder Woman finally became, well, wonderful. Wonder Tot was an imaginative look at a kid who lived on an island that was literally paradise, with the added perks of being able to fly and hang out with magical genies, plus bond with teenage and adult versions of herself in a kind of ready-made Wonder family. Andru and Esposito's art added to the charm of Kanigher's imaginative, if sometimes nonsensical stories, separating Wonder Tot from the other DC super babies, making her a much more believable kid character than her baby cohorts at DC. These stories were definitely not my cup of tea as a kid, but now they fascinate me, and I'm grateful for rediscovering them. Luckily, DC has reprinted just about the entire run of Silver Age Wonder Woman issues in 2 omnibus editions currently available, and a third and final one coming in January of 2026. There's also the Diana Prince stories from issues 178 through 204, collected in a 4th volume with a groovy 1960s look titled Diana Prince, the 50th Anniversary Omnibus. You may, however, need an invisible jet to carry them home. These books are heavy, man, but much more manageable compared to other omnibus editions, weighing in around 700 pages each or so. But don't get overwhelmed by the thought of reading over 100 issues of Wonder Woman. Take it one book at a time and savor them like I did. And as I said in the beginning, don't worry. Wonder Tots save you. Thanks for joining me for this look back at the 1960s adventures of the Wonder Woman family. There are 17 other full-length episodes of Tales from My Spinner Rack available here on our official YouTube channel, including the first of our 2025 trilogy of Fantastic Four-themed episodes. Maybe that should actually be a tetralogy, a word I just learned. With, of course, more to come. Please subscribe, like, and turn on notifications for new videos, and tell all your comic book loving friends about this channel. And don't forget, your comments are always welcomed and appreciated. You can follow me on Instagram at Tales from My Spinner Rack, it's all one word, or follow my personal account at GG92118, with everything from travel pics to links to my monthly book reviews, and lots of photos of palm trees, flowers, and the occasional birds who visit my backyard on San Diego Bay. Visit my blog at www.innocent-bystander.com for the first iteration of Tales from My Spinner Rack, featuring over 30 art-filled essays on the comics I grew up loving in the 1960s and 70s. Just click on any post on the homepage,